Morning, guys. You know, it's amazing. The way we think about something can change everything. One of the things I've learned in my life, and I hope this helps you, is the way I would think of the word obsession. That's another word that's thrown around, and often there's a negativity or a fear associated with it. There are two sides to it. To me, it is focused mind power. And to me, the greatest thing we can do is channel the positive aspect of it. So obsession is a positive focused mind power that you have an ability to do. If you have something you want to do and you believe in it and it's aligned with goodness and rightness for everyone, you need obsession. You need that mind power. My friend Eric Thomas says we should become obsessed with self-improvement. I love this. Imagine we all did that. Hope this helps everyone. Have a great day.
Nobody's journey is seamless or smooth. We all stumble, we all have setbacks. If things go wrong, you hit a dead end, as you will. It's just life's way of saying, time to change course. So ask every failure. This is what I do. Every failure, every crisis, every difficult time, I say, what is this here to teach me? And as soon as you get the lesson, you get to move on. If you really get the lesson, you pass and you don't have to repeat the class. If you don't get the lesson, it shows up wearing another pair of pants or skirt to give you some remedial work. And what I found is that difficulties come when you don't pay attention to life's whisper, because life always whispers to you first, and if you ignore the whisper, sooner or later you'll get a scream. Whatever you resist persists, but if you ask the right question, not why is this happening, but what is this here to teach me? What is this here to teach me? It puts you in the place and space to get the lesson you need. My friend Eckhart Tolle, who's written this wonderful book called A New Earth, it's all about letting the awareness of who you are stimulate everything that you do. He puts it like this. He says, don't react against a bad situation, merge with that situation instead, and the solution will arise from the challenge. Because surrendering yourself doesn't mean giving up, it means acting with responsibility. Okay, many of you know that, as President Hennessy said, I started this school in Africa. And I founded the school where I'm trying to give South African girls a shot at a future like yours, Stanford. And I spent 5 years making sure that school would be as beautiful as the students. I wanted every girl to feel her worth reflected in her surroundings. So I checked every blueprint, I picked every pillow, I was looking at the grout in between the bricks, I knew every thread count of the sheets, I chose every girl from the villages, from 9 provinces, and yet last fall I was faced with a crisis I'd never anticipated. I was told that one of the dorm matrons was suspected of sexual abuse. Well, that was, as you can imagine, devastating news. First I cried, actually I sobbed for about a half an hour, and then I said, let's get to it. That's all you get, is a half an hour. You need to focus on the now, what you need to do now. So I contacted a child trauma specialist. I put together a team of investigators. I made sure the girls had counseling and support. And Gail and I got on a plane and flew to South Africa. And the whole time I kept asking that question, what is this here to teach me? And as difficult as that experience has been, I got a lot of lessons. I understand now the mistakes I made because I had been paying attention to all of the wrong things. I built that school from the outside in, when what really mattered was the inside out. So it's a lesson that applies to all of our lives as a whole. What matters most is what's inside. What matters most is the sense of integrity, of quality, and beauty. I got that lesson. And what I know is that the girls came away with something too. They've emerged from this more resilient and knowing that their voices have power.
In life, you're gonna have a lot of failures, but I would say that don't look at it as failures. Look at it as a challenge. Because what is life all about? Yes, it's about learning. And you could ask, what is this here to teach me? But I would go further and says, what is this here to help me grow, to make me become better, so I can teach others and coach others to become better? Because life is about growing and developing and progressing and getting better. So everything that happens to you for a reason. Is there to challenge you to get better, to grow, to develop, so that why? So that you can help other people, serve other people, and help them, and you can share with other people, help solve their problems. So it's not always about you. So when it happens, if you want to consider this failure, then fine. Fail your way to success and learn the lesson. But that's not enough just to learn a lesson. How can you take this lesson now and teach it to other people? How can you coach other people? How can you make other people better? Because the lesson is supposed to make you better and help you grow. So that's the biggest thing here. Failure is not failure unless you make it failure. It's a challenge. Challenge to make you better. Let's go.
Zane's bringing some.
I'm just saying.
He's bringing some. All right, Drew, what do we got?
I don't know. This clip brought me back to 2018. It was the end of the year, and I was taking a step back because I had launched a brand on Amazon that didn't exactly go so well. I sold 250 out of the 4,000 units that I had purchased, and
Of what?
Wine sleeves.
Wine sleeves.
Wine
What did they
sleeves.
say?
They said the Smart Connoisseur. That was the brand that I created. And about 4 months into that little endeavor, I got hit with a cease and desist with a patent. So Amazon took my listing down, and now I had 3,700 units that I needed to figure out what to do with. During that December time frame, I was kind of looking back at like all of the different businesses that I had looked at or dabbled in. And it gave me the opportunity to reflect and kind of learn something for myself on which direction I was ultimately going to go. So a lot of times failures, not only does it teach you something practical, but it also helps you get to know yourself better. And teaches you a little bit about more about what you are, about who you are going to become.
The first one was you only get 30 minutes. That's all you get. And I think about how devastating that must have been for her. The abuse that she went through as a kid. She sits at school and 5 years in, and abuse happens there. And just how traumatic that must have been for her. And then how that's all you get. And I forced to reflect on my life too. Could I bounce back out of that hour? I don't know. I think a lot of people struggle, like they get something big, and that's years before they can bounce back, let alone months or weeks or days or half an hour. So it's not that you get hit. Everybody gets hit. It's how quickly you get back up, right? It's not just getting back up. It's how fast you get back up. And then getting back up after half an hour with something so big is inspiring to me. So I'm going to remember that the next time something happens. Hopefully not anytime soon, but when it does, maybe get in my mind, hey, karma might go half an hour. And then go further. It's like you get go. The other one was I used Oprah as a way to save my business. When I quit my business partner, Oprah from her in my head was my mind was going to stand. Just another way to stand. And she did say that, but it reminded me of that. In that I did not want to quit, and I used Jeff Bezos as my model of that. Just don't regret. And I felt like if I quit now, I said I got my business partner, right? First day of my life. So if I quit now, I'm going to regret this. I know that when I'm going away, I know you'll regret this. I'm 42. But I'm really glad.
You just got a birthday.
It's true. And so I use Jeff Bezos as my way to get back out. But then Oprah as my just find out what it's saying. Okay, so what has happened right now is not working. And it's easy to get lost on what's not working, right? But I tried everything, and none of it was working. And so how do you keep going when you feel like you tried everything and it's working? That's where Oracle's message of just find a way to stay, find a way to stay. Help keep me on the path. A lot of things that quit when we think about those moments. Like, no, I still do this. I just have to find another way to stay. And luckily, I did. My success, turn the business around. But that message came at a really important time in my life. And if I didn't have it, I don't know if I'd be here. So I think I'd rather that.
Amazing.
Morning, guys. Robert Kiyosaki today shares with us his rule number 8 in top 10 rules for success. Don't be afraid of losses. This is a huge one. This is one where we're conditioned. Growing up, going through school, going to different clubs, being in certain activities where success and failures are possibilities. We have been conditioned, I believe, as a society to be afraid of losses. And so one of the challenges we have to face, not only when it comes to how we are with our money, but the way we live, the choices that we make. We're going to make mistakes. We have to change the way we look at that. We have to say to ourselves that those mistakes are steps in the right direction. We're willing to learn from it. We're all in the same place, but we can last forever in terms of the energy and choices we made in our physical existence here. Have a great day, everybody.
Is there a difference between setting goals and achieving goals? Why is it that so many people set that goal? They have goals, they have dreams, they have aspirations, hopes, and then they don't achieve the goal, dreams, hopes, aspirations that they have. Is it possible that there is a disconnect between the intention, desire, goal, wanting, goal setting part of your brain, and the goal achieving part of your brain? Do you think maybe the latest neuroscience research and understanding which part of our brain is responsible for setting a goal and getting charged up and emotionally connected to that goal fires up? And what happens along the way? And let me share some things that I've discovered that I think will help you become a goal achiever. And all the research that I've done on the brain, peak performers, high performers, people who achieve, people who have a couple of things that I think maybe you need to know. Need motivation? Watch a top 10 motivation.
Hey, Tim Carmichael, and I made these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, John Master, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy.
Number one, setting goals is great. And you're using, what I call is the Einstein part of your brain, right? The part of your brain where you can imagine, and Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge. Maybe at first, and skill. But you also use a part of your brain called the deductive reasoning part of your brain where you say, well, I don't want that, I want that. I don't like this, I like that. And therefore, here's really what I want to do, be, have, achieve, etc. And so we have the imagination, we have the deductive reasoning part of the brain. And if you thought of your brain as a organism instead of an organ, it's an organism that is consistently, growing, developing, creating new distinctions, new awarenesses, new neural connections, new patterns, reinforcing old patterns. But if you thought of your brain as a series of members of your orchestra or your band, and there's one member of your band or orchestra that can choose what song to play, but there's another member of your band that decides whether to play it or not, or whether it's not perfect, or whether you should go fast or slow. But if you started to think about one part of your brain chooses the goal, but you have to engage the other members of the orchestra or the band to help play and make harmony and coherence. So if you choose your goal, that's great. Get clear, get precise, so your brain knows exactly what to focus on. But the other part that you really want to activate, I'm going to give you two more parts, specific ones. The first part is the emotional part of your brain, the limbic part of your brain. So what happens is we set a goal, we get motivated, to achieve it because it's exciting, it's fun. We can foresee what it would be like to achieve the goal, how people will think of us, how we will feel about it, what it means to our lifestyle, our family, our friends, our charities, etc. But if we don't know how to override any of the obstacles that will get in the way, we're not going to achieve our goals. So let me explain a little bit deeper what I mean by that. In most cases, setting of the intention or the goal is happening in the left prefrontal cortex and imagination center, as I mentioned. But whenever we have a fear, for example, of failing, or a fear of disappointing ourselves, or a fear of being embarrassed, ashamed, ridiculed, or judged in case we don't achieve the goal, then the emotional center of our brain, the limbic system, deactivates motivational centers and deactivates the desire to take inspired action. So we procrastinate and we self-sabotage. So if one part of the band or orchestra wants to go this way, but another part of the band is trying to protect ourselves from any of the disempowering emotions or outcomes that may happen, we may fail, we may lose money, we may get in trouble of some kind, then we're going to have one part of the band wanting to go this way, but another part of the band wants to stay where it's comfortable and safe, in our comfort zone. So how do we create the coherence between the desiring goal setting part of the brain and this emotional center that's holding us back or moving us forward, the emotional centers, right? And there's one more piece after that, so stay tuned. So the first thing to know is that in addition to setting a goal, I want you to do this little thing. I want you to take a piece of paper or on your computer or on your mobile phone, and I want you to write out 5 reasons why you must achieve that goal. Not could, should, want to, no. Why must you achieve that goal? And I want you to come up with the biggest musts that you can.
Rule number 2, focus on positivity.
Crazy time in the world right now. So much uncertainty, unpredictability, chaos, confusion. Lots of stuff that's happening right now that none of us have ever been a part of. Stuff like it, yeah. Some recessions, sure. But never anything like this with so many different competing threats, so many different competing things to be thinking about that affect your life every day, your business, your career, your family, your health. Lots of stuff going on. And the question I want you to be in, what are you going to do to make sure that your health is better than it is right now, that your finances are better than they are right now, that your relationship is better than it is right now, that your career or business is better than it is right now. And the reason I want you to focus on making it better is because where your attention goes, energy flows. Let me repeat, where your attention goes, energy flows. So if your attention is on, oh my God, what's happening? What am I going to do about it? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if I can't? What if I don't? What if I... Listen, what if you do? What if you focus your energy and attention on how to make everything better right now?
Good morning, guys. All right, I got a funny story to share with you today. This one is fresh from last night and being with my family. I got to give my younger daughter credit for this one. I deserve this one, but it's funny and I can laugh at it now. So you guys know I'm obsessed with the power of the human mind. I come from a good place. I'm trying to help as many people as possible. And on being on this road to infinite mind wealth, I got to take some of my own medicine. So last night, my daughters were in a conversation. There was a bit of an argument, and I have a tendency to try to mediate, to try to come in and try to help and try to fix things right away. And my daughter last night humbled me, and I deserved it. She said, "Daddy, stop it. You know, you're being annoying." And I thought to myself, she's right. I was being annoying. And so I have to constantly work on this, but it made me laugh, just the way she said it. And thank you. Thank you, sweetie. Daddy's got to learn too. Have a great day, everybody.
You should treat yourself like you're someone responsible for helping. And the first question is, well, why don't you? And the answer is, well, there's a lot wrong with you, you know? And it's hard to exercise enough love and care in a deep and non-naive way to care properly for something like that. It's an encouragement to assume, to act out the proposition that even if life is as difficult as it seems to be, and if you're as vulnerable and weak in a fundamental sense as you definitely are, and characterized by this terrible propensity for the infliction of voluntary suffering on yourself and others, and that destructive tendency, that there's still something within you that's so remarkable and so aligned with order and being in the proper manner that you can climb above that, let's say like Abel, and that you can make the proper sacrifices, and that you can set yourself right, and you can set your family right, and you can set the world right, and that the mere possibility that that might occur, that that might be within the realm of potential, means that you have a moral obligation to exercise the responsibility to take care of yourself as if you're something that matters. And that if you did that properly, it might turn out that what you did would matter, that it would matter to you, that it would be meaningful in the way that things that matter are meaningful, and that it would matter to everyone around you.
Need motivation?
Watch a Top 10 Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Jordan Peterson, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, take responsibility.
If you've explicitly formulated a set of goals and you're pursuing them, then you've adopted the responsibility to act in a certain manner to make those goals realize themselves. That's responsibility that you've adopted rather than responsibility that's being imposed on you, assuming that you've thought through the goals and you find your spirit in harmony with those goals. You can consult your resentment. I think that's a very useful step. If you find yourself angry and bitter about the things that you are responsible for doing, then that's an indication that you might be operating under some unhealthy compulsion, that you're rebelling, and that's the reason for the resentment against the insistence that you act in a certain way. Although it's also possible that you're just immature and that you're rebelling against the discipline that's necessary to attain the goals that you genuinely do want to attain and that are valid and that you are actively engaged in constructing. So you have to get that straight, and some of that's a consequence of thought, and again, some of that's a consequence of discussion with other people with whom you're intimate enough to have a conversation like that. And perhaps they have conversations about similar things with you if you're fortunate.
Rule number 3, remain true to yourself.
When you were possessed by those ideas, you might have been at least partially authentic, because one of the things you might ask yourself is, well, were they stepping stones to a better you? You know, people get possessed all the time because they admire certain ideas, and sometimes that admiration impels them into a kind of apprenticeship. And so they were stupider before they got possessed by that idea. And as they transformed themselves across the apprenticeship cycle, say being apprenticed to this fad-like idea, they learned something from it. So, you know, you might you might have learned and grown as a consequence of what possessed you. Now, it's possible that a lot of that spoke to the development of parts of you that you don't want to develop. That they spoke to your malevolence and spoke to your desire to manipulate and all of that. And you have to sort that out. But look, I also don't think it's all that easy to figure out when you're authentic. That's subtle. Your felt sense of confidence in your words when you're not trying to win is something like your ability to judge your authenticity. Are you saying this to achieve a local end, or are you saying this because you have thought deeply and this is the best expression you can manage of a deeply held conviction? That's a lifetime. It's a lifetime of work, or it's a lifetime work to sort those things out. The best I could come up with was in my first book, well, the first of the more popular books, in 12 Rules for Life. Don't lie. Now, not lying is not the same as being authentic exactly, because as your question highlights, it's not that easy to tell when you're telling the truth, right? Because, well, what the hell do you know? It's certainly not the truth, what you know. It might be your best approximation, but it's certainly not the truth. And you're by no means unerring in your ability to discern when it is that you're even speaking your truth, because that's so complicated. You just have to practice doing that continually to get anywhere near good at it. It's years and years of effort of stringent moral effort to begin to manage that. But I do believe that people can tell by and large when they're outright lying, and they can stop doing that. They can stop saying things they know to be false. And so that's the most obvious impediment to authenticity, is outright lies of commission. Stop engaging in those. Stop saying things you know to be false. Now, that begs the question, how do you know them to be false? Well, that's complicated. Sometimes that's a feeling of repugnance at your own words. Sometimes it's a feeling of touchy embarrassment, so that if people call you on what you say, you get disproportionately angry. Sometimes it's knowing a set of facts that you haven't let affect the way you think or present yourself. You're purposefully keeping yourself in the fog, as per Rule 3 of Beyond Order. Those are all things you have to sort out for yourself. But I think it starts with an act of faith, and which is, at least in part, why religious systems insist upon faith. And faith isn't belief in something that no one sane would believe. That's a misapprehension of faith. Faith is something like a decision that truth serves the good, and the good is worth serving, and so therefore truth is worth serving. That's an axiomatic proposition, and you can debate its empirical justification. And of course, we wouldn't be tempted into temptation if we couldn't debate its empirical justification, because the objection is, yeah, and what exactly does truth buy you that falsehood wouldn't buy you better? And if you don't think that you're tempted by that counterposition, well, then you don't know anything about temptation, because that is the temptation of the counterposition. So, and it's powerful temptation. That's why it's a statement of faith that conquers it. It's a decision. So you probably were possessed by an idea, but maybe there was something in you that was striving to be authentic, and maybe you can speed that process of transformation along by vowing, by taking a vow. And that's adopting a religious commitment, which is, I'm going to serve truth and the good, despite the proximal cost. And that's a statement of faith, because you're staking your life on that, right? Because every decision you make from here on in will be affected by that decision. So it's a fundamental decision. And hopefully that will guide you in your endeavor, so that your possession by cultural fads, which might be a necessary part of your apprenticeship, will be temporary and serve this zigzagging path to something that's better for you in the future.
Rule number 4, find meaning.
We don't understand consciousness. We don't really understand